I built my life like a house of cards. Two separate towers, perfectly balanced. For 5 years, I was the architect of two different realities, two different loves. But I got careless. I left a single digital key behind, a forgotten tablet that held the blueprints to my deception. I was living a lie, but it felt like two truths. I was so convinced I could keep them apart. I didn't realize that one wrong move would bring both worlds crashing down on me. I wasn't just cheating. I had erased one woman's reality to build a vacation for myself. My phone, and the life it contained, was the ghost in my own machine.
When I met her, it felt like starting a new novel where I could write myself as the hero. We met in a coffee shop. She was reading a book I loved, and the conversation just flowed. I was charming, I was smart, I was whatever she needed me to be. I told her I was an international logistics consultant. It sounded important, and it gave me the perfect excuse to disappear for a week or two at a time. These weren't business trips to Europe or Asia. They were trips back to my real life, my wife and kids. The little gifts and incredible stories I brought back were just props to keep the fantasy alive. Our life together was my escape. It was perfect because it wasn't real. We got a dog, we had friends over, we talked about a future that was a complete fabrication on my part. Every weekend hike, every movie night on the couch, was a scene I was directing. I gave my character, Mark, a tragic backstory. I killed off my parents in a fictional car crash, and created a falling out with a brother I was, in reality, very close to. It made her love me more, made her want to heal the emptiness I had invented. It was a cruel thing to do, but it made the lie feel more complete, more solid. For 5 years, she trusted me completely. She was my confidant in a life that didn't exist. I never once gave her a reason to doubt my honesty, because the Mark she knew was impeccably honest. He was in love. In a way, I suppose I was too. I was in love with the freedom, with the escape she represented. I used her trust not as a weapon, but as a shield, to protect the fragile reality I had so carefully constructed around us. Before I tell you how my carefully built world came apart, if you've ever felt the crushing weight of a secret you can't escape, consider subscribing. This channel is about sharing difficult truths, and your support helps remind us that even in our worst moments, we can learn from each other's stories. The balance started to shift about 6 months ago. The pressure of maintaining two lives began to wear on me. My phone, once my greatest tool, became a source of constant anxiety. I started guarding it obsessively, sleeping with it under my pillow, angling the screen away from her whenever a text from my wife came through. The excuse was always the same, and it was getting thin. Just work. Then came the close calls. One night, my phone rang at 2 a.m. It was my wife, worried about our son who had a fever. I jumped out of bed, my heart racing, and took the call in the other room, whispering. When I came back, I spun a story about a shipping emergency in another time zone. It fit my cover story, but my nerves were shot. I could feel her watching me, could feel the suspicion in her questions. I got defensive, dismissive. It's complicated work stuff. You wouldn't get it. I'd snap, just to shut the conversation down. I could feel her gut feeling turning into an alarm. I could see the anxiety in her eyes, and I knew I was the cause. But I couldn't stop. So I did what I had to do to protect my secret. I made her think she was the crazy one. Whenever she'd voice a concern, I'd turn it back on her, acting hurt and betrayed. After all this time, you don't trust me? I'd ask. The guilt would flood her face and she would apologize. Every time she apologized for my lies, a part of me felt sick. But the relief of dodging another bullet was stronger. The walls were closing in. The final trip came on a Tuesday. I told her I was going to Germany.
In reality, I was flying a few states away for my son's soccer tournament. I left my old, slow tablet at home. It seemed like a harmless oversight. I had no idea that I was leaving behind the one thing that would detonate my entire life. I thought if I just got through this one last trip, I could get things back under control. I was wrong. The world I had built with her shattered while I was sitting in the bleachers at a middle school soccer game. But I didn't know it yet. I was David, a husband and father cheering on his son. 2 days later, I walked back through the door of my other life, playing the part of Mark, the tired international consultant. I had a box of German chocolates in my hand and a well-rehearsed story about my trip on my lips. I smiled, exhausted not from jet lag, but from the constant performance. I tried to kiss her. She turned away. The air in the room was cold, heavy. "Everything okay?" I asked, the fake concern rolling off my tongue out of habit. She didn't speak. She just picked up the tablet from the coffee table and showed me the screen. And there it was, a family photo. My wife, my 2 children, and me, David. All of us on a beach, smiling. The life I had just left 2 days ago. She asked a single quiet question. Who is David? It was like being plunged into ice water. The blood drained from my face. For one terrifying second, the mask fell off completely, and she saw the real me, a panicked, cornered animal. My first instinct was to lie. I tried to say he was a friend, that she was misunderstanding everything. I tried to twist it, to make it about her snooping, about her violating my privacy. But she was immune. The woman whose trust I had weaponized was now armed with unshakable proof. Calmly, she laid out the evidence. The messages I'd exchanged with my wife about our son's birthday. The emails to my mother, the one I'd told her was dead. The photos of the children I pretended didn't exist. With every new exhibit, the character of Mark disintegrated. The charming, confident man she loved dissolved, leaving behind a pathetic, speechless stranger. There were no more lies to tell. My silence was the only truth I had left. The man she loved was a ghost, and he had just vanished before her eyes. I didn't try to fight. I didn't try to explain. What could I say? That my real life felt like a cage and this life was my air? That I was a coward who wanted the stability of one and the thrill of the other? None of it would have mattered. I had erased 5 years of her life, and an apology was meaningless. I sat there as she stared at me, her eyes not filled with tears or rage, but with a horrifying emptiness. It was the look of someone staring at a complete stranger who just happened to have my face. The calm she possessed was terrifying. It was the calm of total destruction, the quiet after everything has been leveled. While she held up the pieces of my deception, I saw my entire world, both of my worlds, implode. She didn't have to tell me to leave. I just knew my part in this story was over. I went into the bedroom we had shared and packed a single bag. I walked past the photos on the wall, the furniture we'd picked out, all the props from the stage play of my other life. Each object was a testament to my betrayal. When I walked out the door, she didn't say a word. I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove, leaving the ghost of Mark behind. I wasn't just leaving her. I was heading back to a life that was now contaminated by my lies, to a family I had betrayed every time I walked out the door on a business trip. The drive back to my real home was the longest of my life. I had to walk through my front door and look my wife and children in the eye, knowing I was a fraud. My escape hatch was gone. The fake life I had created for refuge had been exposed, and in its destruction, it had revealed the ugly truth of who I really am. There's no healing from this. Not for me. I have to live with the knowledge that I built a beautiful, intricate lie and destroyed a good person in the process. Mourning the end of a relationship is one thing. She has to mourn a person who never existed at all. It's a unique kind of pain that I inflicted, and it's a burden I will carry forever. The biggest lesson in all of this is that you cannot live two lives. The energy it takes to maintain the lie will eventually corrode everything, including your own soul. You become a ghost in your own story, haunting the lives of the people you claim to love. My carefully constructed world wasn't a masterpiece. It was a prison of my own making. Discovering the truth was her liberation, but it was my reckoning. The charade is over. I didn't just lose my escape, I lost any claim I had to being a good man. I am left with the wreckage of my choices, and I have to rebuild a single, honest life from the ruins of two shattered ones. Thank you for listening. This isn't a story I'm proud of, but it's a true one. Have you ever been caught in a lie that spiraled out of control, or felt the pressure of living a double life? Share your experience in the comments. We can all learn from the mistakes we make. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe for more stories about hard truths. You are not alone.